Today is gonna be all about the meats. No fishing this weekend. It's the Super Bowl today. Go Pats. I know everybody out there is gonna hate that, but whatever. Today, first thing we're gonna do is make a jerky recipe out of this moose meat. For some reason, this moose that my dad shot a couple years ago, not the best tasting moose I've ever had. Very metallic-y tasted. I'm not sure what causes that, but it is what it is. So we're gonna jerky the remainder of it that I have here, probably about 3.5 pounds of jerky, I would say, right there, or future jerky. Got a recipe from my brother-in-law, and it was really good. I've already tried this out the other day on some venison. Come out really good. One thing that I didn't like was it was really spicy, a lot spicier than I thought it was gonna be. So I've made a few changes to the recipe. Everything that I'm doing here today, this whole recipe, I'll put it right down in the description below. So if you guys like the sounds of it, you can go down and check it out and make it yourself. But basically the main sauce to this was soy sauce originally. I'm going to swap that out for just straight up teriyaki, even though I know the base of that is probably soy sauce anyway. I just like the flavor of that a little bit better. He had a quarter of a cup of packed brown sugar in it. I'm going to do a full half cup. Thing I think that I didn't like about it was that there was red chili flakes in it. Not that I don't like red chili flakes, but the heat on the jerky was very inconsistent. Some pieces wouldn't have really any heat to it at all. Other pieces were just scorching hot, so I completely omitted the red chili flakes. But if you like that kind of a heat, you can add those back into it and it's gonna be really good. But we have pure ground black pepper for the heat source. Pretty simple recipe. First thing we're gonna do is 1 to 2 cups of teriyaki marinade. I'm gonna do a full 2 cups if this will do it, because we do have quite a bit of meat. Alright, so we're going to try to get 2 full cups out of this, which might be the whole entire thing. So we're going to do 1.5 cups because that's all I got. Pour that right into your bowl. Then we got pineapple juice, a 1/2 cup of that. Let me get a paper towel real quick because I'm going to make a mess. Alright, so 1/2 cup of pineapple juice. That doesn't look like a 1/2 cup. Where am I at here? Well, that is a 1/2 cup. Doesn't look like much. Alright, then a 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce. You can also add liquid smoke into this if you guys like that. I don't have any of it, and I had some that my brother-in-law made with it in it, and I couldn't even tell that it was in it. So if you do add liquid smoke, make sure you add enough so you can actually taste it. Duh. A 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. I think what this is going to do too, not only sweeten up the jerky, but I think it's going to add a little more of that gooey texture to the outside of it. Nice and packed in there. There she goes. Okay, 2 tablespoons of honey. You're putting all this stuff in here, and it originally sounded like it was going to be a pretty sweet jerky, but it was, when you got some of those red pepper flakes, chili pepper flakes, it was pretty spicy. But that being said, all the jerky is gone, so it wasn't that bad. Worst part about honey, she's a sticky. Alright, now that the honey's in there, 2 tablespoons of coarsely ground black pepper. This is going to add your heat, so if you don't want that much heat, maybe just do 1. Okay, now we need 1 tablespoon onion powder. Okay, 1 tablespoon of garlic. I gotta get the garlic. I'm just gonna use this stuff because I can. Garlic in there. Now they called for fresh ginger, 1 inch of fresh ginger to be diced up and put into it. You can just use ground ginger as well, or you can completely omit it. I didn't even taste it in the last recipe at all, which is good because I'm not a huge ginger fan. No offense to the redheads out there. Flavor wise, not a big fan. So I'm just gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of that. Call that a day with that. And that's it. Now we gotta whisk it for a while. Make sure all that sugar gets kind of dissolved into the liquid the best we can. The whisker probably dirty still?
Yeah.
Okay, got a whisker for an electric one, but it'll work. And you just whisk. Sugar's gonna be really sticking down at the bottom, but just trying to get everything mixed in there the best you can. I already like the smell of it much better. Another thing I did just to prep the meat while it was out thawing, if you leave it a little bit cold or a little bit frozen, it cuts really easy, and I already have everything kind of pre-cut. The original recipe again called for 3/8 of an inch, and that seems super thick to me, so I did about 1/4 of an inch. Not all of them are perfectly the same, but just did about 1/4 of an inch, cut them into pieces. Once I'm done whisking this, you're just gonna put this meat into the liquid. It said to do it for at least 24 hours. I did 20 hours last time. It didn't seem like it was quite enough. I could still taste quite a bit of the venison over anything else, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I'd like to have more of that teriyaki flavor, so I think I'm gonna do pushing 48 hours. So this is going to pick up again in 48 hours. Part 2, hamburger time.
Super Bowl Sunday, and what are we doing? We're grinding up some burger. Oh, and he's gone. There's an elevator behind me.
Hey guys, you saw the jerky part. Now while that marinates, we're gonna make some burger.
Some burger. Let's hop into the old workshop.
If you're doing this inside, you want all your parts and pieces to be really cold, so put them in the freezer for a little bit first. That way, as this runs and everything's working, it doesn't overheat and start breaking down the fats in the venison and in the beef that we got. But I use 2 different discs. This is a number 8 7mm. I run it through that first, and then I go back through with a 4.5mm. Don't you know? So we're using, this is actually beef. We used pork last year, and then the people over at Emerson's in Brewer actually were very helpful. And my wife went in there and they were super nice. The girl wasn't quite sure how much to mix with the weight that we had of pure venison. So she called the owner, and he helped my wife over the phone. So they did a really good job. So if you guys are in the area and you're looking for a butcher, Emerson's in Brewer, I would recommend, just based on their customer service. But they recommended beef because if you use pork like we did last year, you have to cook your burgers well done, because you shouldn't have pork being medium or rare. So they recommended beef, so we got a bunch of beef. I already have a bunch mixed into this one and this one, and now it's pretty simple. We're just gonna start feeding the grinder and grinding some meats.
What's up, guys?
No.
Oh, man. So we ground the meat, and now we're gonna grind it again. And Jeff's gonna tell you why.
It mixes the fat in a little bit better.
A lot of it better.
Bless you. Goodness gracious, Jordy.
What's in there?
What the heck would be in there?
Has it always done that?
No, brand new feature.
Oh, really?
Unlocked a new feature. All right, the regrind. A little bit quicker on the regrind.
Well, we're done grinding. Now it's off to packaging. So we're gonna bring all this in there where it's warm.
Yeah,
and
warmth will be nice.
We're gonna split it up and package it up and put it in our freezers.
Probably won't show you a whole lot of the packaging because all we're doing is grabbing handfuls, putting it in freezer paper. I don't own a one of them there fancy rigs.
What is the fancy rig? Paper packagers.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Scale.
Nope.
Nope. Ice cream scoop.
Nope.
Patty press.
Nope.
What does it do?
It sucks the air out of the packaging.
Oh, vacuum seal?
I don't got one of them there fancy rigs. So we're gonna use freezer paper. Calm down, it's not that funny.
It was funny.
I usually go through my venison within the year anyway, so always works for me. But now we're gonna flash to 48 hours. Jerky time. Jerky time.
Right now.
Well guys, it's been about 48 hours now. The meat's looking good, smelling really, really good. One thing that I did off camera that I didn't show you guys, because I just do it randomly, but about 24 hours or so into the meat marinating, as the meat actually sucks up the juices and the marinade goes into the meat itself, you start to lose a little bit of the juice. So all I did at that 24-hour mark is pretty much just scoop and flip everything over so that that top layer was going to be equally as marinated as the bottom layer. So now all I'm going to do is take the individual pieces out, and I'm going to put them on these cookie sheets with these little wire cookie racks and just kind of let them drip dry for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just to keep the cleanup of the actual dehydrator a little bit easier. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I have the trays, these two trays right here. Basically last time I did deer meat, these two trays all fit into the dehydrator. So I actually have a little bit left over, so I'm gonna have to do 2 batches, which is fine. I'd rather have too much jerky than not enough. So I'm gonna let these sit for a half hour to 45 minutes. I'm gonna come back up and we'll load this up and start cooking some meat. Alexa, stop. Okay, it's been a half hour. Everything's drip dried. It's gonna drip a little bit more in the dehydrator. This is the one dehydrator that I'm gonna be using. This is actually my brother-in-law's. This is the brand right here. It's got all the settings on for, depending on if you're doing fruit, seeds, herbs, and then your different meats. So on here it says jerky, 160 degrees Fahrenheit. 71 for all you Canadians. So you just turn it all the way on to 60 degrees and it's literally plug it in when it's done. So we're gonna get this loaded up onto the racks and then we'll start dehydrating some meat. Biggest thing you wanna do is make sure when you're putting your meat on here that you are leaving enough space. Again, this is gonna be heating from the top and down. You wanna make sure that air is getting around every piece of meat the best that it can. So we got the dehydrator all loaded up. All the trays got a bunch of meat on it. Again, this one's super simple. The original recipe that I was following for this jerky said to cook it on 160 for 3.5 hours. I like my jerky a little bit on the thicker side, so my cuts are a little bit thicker. I ended up cooking it at 160 for about 4 hours last time. But it's gonna really depend on the thickness of your steaks, of your cuts. So just check it, you know, if you wanna check it at 2.5 hours, make sure everything's still going good. It's okay to do that. Shut it off, check your meat. When you check them, they should be able to bend still. When they're done, you'll see like white, almost kind of fibers. It'll still feel a little teeny bit squishy, but once it sets and rests, it's gonna be perfect. So this is super simple. Just throw the lid on. It's already set at 160. That's it. We'll see you guys in about 3 hours. All right, it's been 3 hours, give or take. Just gonna unplug it. Let's see what these juicy little nuggets look like. They're starting to look like jerky. That's good. So not quite there yet. So let's check one of the thinner ones. Basically what you're gonna wanna look for is when you go to bend that, see how just right there, starting to have kind of a little bit of white. When you go to bend that, you want to see a lot of that. So they're still just a little bit too tender, but all right. So we're gonna cook them, I would say at least another hour. Okay, it's been an extra hour. Let's check them out. They might need a little bit longer because they're some of them pretty thick. Getting pretty good.
Flavor's on point.
All right, so some of the bigger chunks still need a little bit more time, which I kind of assume that. I don't have like a fancy jerky cutting mechanism. I know Outdoor Edge makes one, and there's a few others, but most of it's done, and it is super good. So we're gonna finish this up, and I'm gonna start the next batch. But whole lot of jerky. I don't know if you guys like videos like this, but shooting the animal and catching the fish is only, you know, really a small part of why we're out there doing it. Having the meat home is the major reason. So hope you guys liked it, and we'll see you next time.